So, what does the word Christology mean? Perhaps you've heard this word thrown around in some biblical scholar circles. The word simply means to convey a sense that Jesus is the Messiah or is the Christ. A lot of times when this word is used, it's talking about texts in their relationship to proclaiming Jesus as the Messiah and whether or not that is a more or less prominent part of the text. Take, for example, the book of John, which we consider to have a high Christology because of how much it talks about Jesus, not simply as a man, but in a more spiritual, divine sense. Of course, John opens up with the statements like, in the beginning, the Word was God and the Word was with God, which we understand that the Word is Jesus, but then of course you also have statements like the famous John 3:16, and just the mere mention of Son and Father, and then of course Jesus a little later on, is a pretty clear indication of Jesus' divinity according to John. And if you take that and you look at a text like Mark, where Christ is still the Messiah, but it's glossed over for the sake of other narrative points, we see that John has what is considered a high Christology to Mark's lower Christology. What is important to note though here is that we're not talking about any text in the Bible having zero Christology, because pretty much all texts relate to the Messiah in some way or have some form of prophecy or foreshadowing towards the New Testament. Now, certain chapters may have a zero Christology. For example, not all Psalms necessarily pertain to Jesus, but Psalms as a book, I would say, has a fairly medium to high Christology with the level of symbolic metaphor and prophecy that we've actually been able to pull out of Psalms. But more than any of this, the most important thing to understand is that Christology simply refers to the level of a text's claim to Jesus' divinity. How much does the text emphasize that Jesus is in fact the Messiah? So, now you know. Hopefully you can use this information to help you in your further research. Let me know if you have any questions or comments on the matter, and I'll see you tomorrow.